Hey, this is Nick Smith. You're watching the QC, the best in entertainment, reviews, and more. This is the way.
This is the way.
This is the way.
Hey friends, welcome back to the QC. I'm happy to welcome Canadian-born actor Nick Smith to the platform today. Nick's been acting for over 2 decades with over 60 film and TV credits. We'll be discussing his new film, which is in theaters now and in select theaters now and on demand, For the Sake of Vicious, and talking about some other cool stuff too. So there it is, and here we go.
Hello, sir.
Hey, how you doing, my friend?
Good, good. How you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Yeah, really excited, happy to have you on today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Thanks for having me. Where are you? Are you in California?
I'm actually in DC.
Oh, you're in DC of all places.
Yeah.
Very cool.
DC, although I did used to live in California many years ago. Yeah.
Very nice. You prefer it in DC though?
Well, I mean, it's where my career took me, but I love California, and I could see myself moving back there one day because it's just, it's California. It's awesome.
You can't beat the weather.
Cannot beat the weather. Yeah, I was in the Bay Area. Yeah. So, how are things with you?
Things are good. Things are good. Yeah, I'm just over here. I can't get any more Canadian because I'm over here drinking my Tim Hortons coffee.
Okay.
I realized I was like, wow, I'm gonna look so Canadian drinking a Tim Hortons coffee, but whatever. I am Canadian. I'm proud of it.
There you go. But yeah, so I watched the film yesterday. Really enjoyed it. I thought it was the review's up on the website now. I thought it was a really cool take on the home invasion concept. And the last half hour of the film, really the last half of the film, just didn't let up. And it's really exciting stuff. So can you just tell us a little bit about your experience working on the film?
Yeah, so it's a pretty brutal film. It's definitely a bit of a roller coaster ride, and it was a roller coaster ride, filming it. So I had worked with Reese Evanescen on another film called Defective, and I'd heard that he was making a movie with Raven Banner, and so I got submitted for that film, and I went in, and we had worked together before, and yeah, it took 3 castings before I booked this thing,
Okay.
and but there was always a warning of like just be prepared. This is going to be a pretty you have to do your own stunts. You know what I mean? So just prepare that you're going to be going through the ringer on this one. So anyway, we went in and filmed this thing, and so we went away and it took we filmed this thing in 17 days total,
Oh,
and
wow.
yeah.
That's a
But
quick
the
turnaround.
coolest thing about the experience was the fact that they had a house that they could do. The production had this house that they could do anything they wanted with it. I know originally they were going to build some sets, and that fell through at the last minute. So they managed to get this house that was due for. The house was going to be torn down after the production.
Mm.
So basically, long story short, you could just do anything you wanted in this house, which is so amazing because, usually on productions, like the houses are, when you're filming on location like that, they're rented, they belong to somebody else. So, you're really being careful that your shoes don't scuff the floor or you're not
Sure.
putting any dents in the walls.
Sure.
This place, you could just total it um,
Carte
and
blanche.
uh, and not worry about it. Yeah, which thank God, because I mean, you've seen the movie, and we really do kind of put that house through hell.
Yeah, you really
Um,
did.
yeah. But filming this movie was just a total blast. I had it was so much fun. I know a lot of people like I've done a couple of these Q&As with this film now, and people are always like, "Man, that must have been brutal, man. It must have been brutal filming this thing." And it was at times, but to be honest with you, like and I've said this before on other panels, I've always said that um, when I think about this movie, I think about the laughs. Like it was such a good time to make. It really was. It really was.
Right on. So one of the things that stood out to me, Nick, is watching this film is the practical effects, and really, I mean, there are times where I was like, man, they did a really good job with creating really believable effects with some of the more brutal violence that happened in the movie. So can you talk a little bit about how they achieved that?
Yeah. So I know that a recent film. It was 2 directors that did this, and they're huge. They're huge like movie. They're huge movie fans, but mostly of the '80s. Myself, like huge genre fans, horror films, thriller films from the '80s. And if you and So am I. And so when you watch those movies, like they're so good with just doing things in camera. The effects are just, like it's all practical, and so they were just very focused on, not having any CGI effects in this. No CGI blood,
Yeah,
which
I
I know
didn't
you
see
see a
anything.
lot of that these days, which I hate.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's no CGI blood. There's no CGI really anything. I think like the most they did was like like if a gun went off, there's maybe a little bit of a flash from the gun, and that was it. Everything else was just all practical. And the guy they had on that was just so good. Well, like two people come to mind. First of all, like all the blood and all of the makeup effects were done like this by a team from the company slipping my mind, but Carlos was his name, and he was just he's just a master with blood. And so he would go in, he would come in there with buckets of blood and just pour it on people. And for the second half of this film, definitely Laura and I, and also Colin, the other actor, we're pretty much like drenched head to toe in blood. So there's just a lot of blood going on, and yeah, when I think of practical effects too, like like there was also like they had like these when the guns go off, they had these things kind of inserted into the walls where they actually blew holes into the wall. So these days, that would be CGI, but that was all practical, and so they were
Mm.
actually blowing holes in the wall in front of you, and that was incredible to see.
So, is there anything else you'd like to share with our viewers about For the Sake of Vicious and just the film in general?
Oh man. Well, if you're a fan of home invasion films, this is the one for you. The home invasion film, but just we're taking that and putting it to 11. So yeah, I think that it'll really kind of, it'll satisfy the gore hounds and also people that kind of want to see some depth as well. But then once it starts though, like halfway through, like once the bloodshed starts, it just does not let up, and it's just intense all the way through. So yeah, I just really feel like if you're a home invasion fan and if you're a horror fan, this is just the movie for you. I think it surprised a lot of people. I don't think people really were expecting it to be this intense, especially because of the way it starts. I'm sure maybe
Right.
you went through the same thing where it's like, okay, this is kind of the way this is the kind of movie it's going to be where it's like a who done it kind of thing, and then this is the ride that we're going to be on, and then out of nowhere it just shifts gears and it just doesn't let up, and that's the kind of movie it is.
Right.
I'd love
Right.
to know like what your thoughts on it were when you were watching it.
Yeah, no, those were my thoughts. I mean, so I was watching the film, and I definitely in the first 10 minutes, they're kind of establishing the main characters, and it's kind of a bit of a slow burn. Really good cinematography. I actually noticed as the way everything is shot, which is just very, very visually just appealing kind of way they shot it. And then they kind of pivot to your character coming into the situation, and then all of a sudden, things start to get kind of crazy, and it just slowly gets crazier and crazier until it gets to that point that you mentioned where it's just everybody's just just blood and viscera and just everything is just flying everywhere for that last last really 45 minutes. So I thought that was really cool, and I really enjoyed it, and I was surprised by it as well because I didn't think that it was going to really get that intense for that long of a time consistently over the last 45 minutes. So definitely I enjoyed it. And, if you look at my review, all that's reflected in there as well. So yeah. Yeah. So good stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. Was it what you expected?
So you know what, and this is actually, I'm glad you asked that question because nowadays it's very rare that you watch a film where you go into it not knowing what to expect. And this was an example where I did watch the trailer, but I didn't have any awareness of it until you and I had the kind of conversation about having this conversation. So I really didn't know what to expect, and even though I didn't have those expectations, I just in general the movie just really captured a really good. It just did a really good job, I think, of capturing the intensity and like the nerve-wracking experience of what it would be like if you were, experiencing a home invasion in modern times. And yeah, I just think, it's definitely enjoyable watch. So 100%.
It's awesome. Like I think we had such a great experience on the festival circuit, but unfortunately, the festival circuit in the past year has been a completely different kind of festival circuit because of COVID. So even though like we were lucky enough to still have a festival circuit to go to in these crazy times, can't help but think how awesome that would have been if we would have played a year earlier and we would have been in front of real audiences and real theaters. And this is the kind of movie that I really feel like it lends itself to the big screen. And
Absolutely.
I feel like I really I just hope that one day we could see this thing in front of a theater audience, because it's just like just the energy and just the reactions that I think we would have got with
Yeah.
a full house in front of a festival
Yeah.
audience would
And
have
the
been
sound
amazing.
effects.
That's
The
the
sound
only
effects as
thing
well.
that I wish we would have had.
Yeah, and the sound effects as well. That's
Yeah,
something that
yeah.
really stood out to me is the way they use music and like the score to like, really kind of drive home a lot of the scenes. And I think to your point, in a theater, I think it would definitely be a superior experience in watching, on depending on what kind of TV you have.
And I remember like the first thing that I thought of was the soundtrack. The soundtrack was bonkers. You know, it's kind of like a synth vibe, and it's also like there was like this also Julian Winding, who is like the cousin of Nicholas Winding Refn, who I remember you mentioned Drive in your review.
Right,
But
right.
that's kind of a
Yeah.
connection we have, funny enough, because I can't remember if it's his brother or if it's his cousin, but they're like really close and they're related. And he did a song for this film,
Oh wow. Okay.
and so yeah, I was just so impressed with the soundtrack. Just on top, like, yeah, the soundtrack on top of that movie, I just thought was just brilliant.
Right, right on. Yeah, no, absolutely. So kind of pivoting away from the film, we'd love to learn little bit about you just personally and like what you're into as far as the entertainment that you're consuming. So I had some questions here, just some fun questions for you, just to get a sense for the kind of things that you're watching. So can you share with us
Yeah.
your favorite MCU film and why?
Oh man.
Or one of the favorites. I know
Probably
it's hard to pick
Endgame.
one of your favorites, if not the favorite.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, well, let me say two, because when Iron Man came out, the first Iron Man, that's kind of what started it all. And when it comes to the MCU, anyway, and I just remember feeling like I was 12 years old when I saw that movie.
No,
Because when I was a kid, my favorite movie was The Rocketeer.
love that movie.
And I feel like that's such an underappreciated film,
It really is.
even though the
Nobody
director
talks
of
about
that,
it.
yeah,
No one talks
and
about
even though
it.
the director of that, Joe Johnson, went on to do the first Avenger with Captain America, which is a kind of a cool connection there. But The Rocketeer, I always wanted to have, like, if I could choose a superpower, it'd always be the power of flight. And so, if you're a kid that always wanted to fly, Iron Man is such a great flick for that. So yeah, Iron Man is just one of those movies that just made me feel like a kid. And
Right.
it's rare. It's rare that happens. And also, I was going to say Endgame. Yeah, Endgame. When I saw Endgame, man, like, I couldn't believe that you were seeing people die.
Right. Yeah, no,
These
for
big
sure.
characters. And like, even though like most of those characters kind of came back, they still made some ballsy decisions at the end of the next one, because Captain America's gone, or not Captain America, Iron Man. Iron Man was such a big one to see go, but that was a bit of a rant that I went on there,
Yeah, no,
but
that's
yeah,
fine. Ran away. All right.
yeah.
So I read that you started off as doing stand-up comedy, which I think is awesome. Can you tell me your favorite stand-up comedian, maybe, and why you like him or her?
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr. You know what's
Yeah.
funny? And this is gonna sound like BS because we're having this interview. Bill Burr is my favorite stand-up comedian. I'm from Boston, and Bill Burr's from Boston. I've been a fan of his. I saw him live in
Yeah.
Providence like 20
Yeah.
years ago. I love Bill Burr, so it's really cool that you said that you just out of nowhere, not planned, said Bill Burr. But continue. Sorry, interrupt you.
Yeah, no, Bill Burr, man. I just think that he's just so quick, and he's just so like razor sharp. And it
It is
just like, if I ever have a bad day, I put him on, and I'm just feeling better immediately. He just makes me laugh, man, and like, it's really cool to see him kind of extend his career too when you see him in The Mandalorian. And
Never would have thought he'd be in a Star Wars property. If you told me that 20 years ago, I'd be like, Bill Burr as a main character on a Star Wars TV show. Like, I wouldn't have believed you about the TV show at all either. But yeah, to your point, yeah.
yeah, Yeah, and yet it fits so well. It's so perfect. So I'm excited to see kind of like where his career goes from here. And like he's, like how old is he now? Like he's definitely in his 50s.
Yeah, he's up there. Bill Burr. I mean, I listen to his podcast, and he talks a lot about how people only really focus on his career now, but he was grinding for like 20 years, doing the comedy circuits before he really got to a point where he's Bill Burr that he is now. So it's like, yeah, he's
Yeah.
been doing comedy for a long time. So
And
yeah.
I think that's another reason why I like him too, is that he really hustled. Like he really worked for it. And it wasn't an overnight success. And the guy's talent is extremely obvious. And yeah, I feel like he's hitting his peak. I feel like he's hitting his like true stride right now. And the man's in his 50s. Just great.
Yeah, it was great. It was inspiring. We can all have our, second and third acts. You just gotta kind of grind and figure out, what it is that you're best at, right? So, all right. So this is the last one in this kind of category. Better
Sure.
Batman, Keaton or Bale?
Oh, Keaton.
Keaton. Okay.
Oh yeah, Keaton. Keaton looks crazy. Keaton looks like the kind of guy that would have to dress as a bat to intimidate somebody or intimidate a criminal. And maybe that's nostalgia talking. I don't know, but I just love Keaton. And let me just say that I'm super excited with the fact that he's coming back as Batman.
Yep. They just
Like
announced
how
it. Yeah.
like that's something I never thought I'd see
Right.
ever.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. No, I'm super excited about that as well. So, is there anything else, like any other projects you got coming down the pike, or anything else like just that's next for you that you want to let us know about?
Yeah. It's like this film was a special one for me because it was really I had been involved in like comedic productions for a long time. Like you said, I started off in stand up, and I was kind of getting into a point in my career where I wasn't getting the roles or the opportunities that I was really kind of craving. And this was the first role that I really felt like I could really put my all into. And I knew that if I played my cards right and the audience hopefully liked what I did, it would kind of open up other doors. And so thankfully, the reaction to this film has been so positive, thank God. And through this film, I had another film called Motherly, which is another intense thriller that comes out pretty soon. Actually, I filmed that shortly after this one. It's also with Raven Banner. Raven Banner is an incredible company down here in Canada that puts out amazing genre pictures. And then that film led to another film. I just did a TV movie down here in Canada that's also kind of a really dark role. And they had the same producers come that wanted me for that, and now I'm up for something else that I can't quite talk about, but that's another intense one. And so it all started with this movie, you know, um, which I'm so thankful for because I feel like this film just kind of reminded me why I wanted to be an actor in the first place. It kind of just like it just really breathed a fresh. It just really kind of gave me a fresh breath of air and pushed me forward into a place that I wanted to be in for a long time. So I was just super glad to have the opportunity. I'm so pumped that you liked it, and I'm so pumped that people are responding to it the way they are because it was a blast to do. It really, really was.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I thought it was excellent. I'm definitely going to be watching it again sometime here in the near future. So, yeah.
Yeah. Please do, please do.
Yeah. So thank you, Nick. We really appreciate having you on. For the Sake of Vicious in select theaters now, available video on demand as well. Make sure you check it out. Come back and let us know what you thought about it. Make sure you follow Nick on Instagram and as well. And yeah, we'll see you at the next one. Thank you.
Thanks so much, man. Thank you.